Hey guys, in today's video, I'm taking you out into the ocean. I want to compare the DJI Osmo Action 4 side by side with the GoPro Hero 12 Black to see how the underwater footage compares. They're both amazing action cameras, so let's get underwater and check it out. I went out and I filmed a bunch of side by side clips for you guys so you can see a comparison between the Hero 12 and the Action 4. I shot all of these clips just using auto settings and no filters, so you can know what to expect basically if you just take your camera out and you start filming underwater. There are a lot of settings you can manipulate, and I just wanted to show you guys straight out of the camera, if you're not an advanced filmmaker, what you're gonna get when you go underwater with either of these cameras. Also, all of the clips that I'm showing you here are not touched up, so they're just straight out of the camera, and this is what you can expect. If I did change any settings, I'll be sure to let you know which settings I changed when I show you the clips. So when you look at the videos side by side between these two cameras, I just want you to pay attention to a few things. By the way, throughout all of these comparisons, the DJI videos will be on the left and the GoPro videos will be on the right, just to make things a little easier for you guys. The first thing I'd like you to pay attention to throughout this video is the color temperature. You'll notice on the DJI videos, it's got more of a bluish tone to it, whereas on the GoPro videos, it's got a little bit more of a greenish tint. This is caused by the different color temperatures basically programmed into the camera. Both of the cameras will read the color temperature for you automatically, but the DJI Action 4 actually does have a dedicated color temperature sensor inside of the O here, so you just want to make sure you don't block that while you're filming. You can adjust the look of your videos after you film them, but you'd have to go and adjust each of those clips if you don't like the color it's originally starting with. If you want to change that color temperature of your videos while you're recording, you can also do this by adjusting the white balance setting. That white balance setting is what affects the color temperature. But setting that white balance manually is a little bit complicated because it has to be changed every time you look up or you look down or you look back up. Every time you change those perspectives, you're gonna have to manually change the white balance. So it's really nice to be able to take advantage of the auto white balance settings in these cameras, especially if you're out there filming cinematic underwater shots like some of these. Which is why, in my opinion, it's best to just start out with a camera that produces colors that you like best. The second thing you should pay attention to is to look at the shadowed areas in these videos. And you'll notice in the GoPro videos, those areas are brighter. This is due to what is called dynamic range, and GoPros are particularly known for their high dynamic range videos. I find this is particularly good for skin tones, yet it's not always so good for the overall scene or for cinematic shots. However, just take a look for yourself and see which images you really like the quality of. And of course, you're probably gonna do some edits to these images after you shoot them, but I just want to show you, once again, straight out of the camera what they look like. So when you look at the two cameras side by side, both cameras record really high quality videos and are great underwater cameras, especially because of their durability and their ease of use. When it comes to sensor size, the Action 4 actually has a larger sensor at 1/1.3 inches, whereas the Hero 12 has a 1/1.9 inch sensor. The sensor is actually larger in the Action 4, so that's going to help for those low light scenes when you don't have as much light and your camera needs that larger sensor. Even though it's got a smaller sensor, the Hero 12 actually records a larger video resolution. So the Hero 12 records 5.3K videos, whereas the DJI Action 4 tops out at 4K video. That extra resolution in the Hero 12 is just going to give you some more flexibility when you go to edit, especially if you're editing 4K videos. So you can just crop in a little bit and you have more room outside of the frame to work with. I also just want to show you guys a close-up here of the image quality. So I'm going to zoom in way beyond where you would ever want to zoom, which is going to make the videos look pixelated, but at least you can see a comparison of the image quality that you're going to be working with. Another thing that's important to note is that both cameras actually will record a different proportion video, which is also known as aspect ratio. And the aspect ratio is basically the proportions of that rectangle or square that you're filming. The Hero 12 records an 8:7 aspect ratio, which is a taller frame. It's almost like a square, whereas the Action 4 tops out at a 4.3 aspect ratio. So that extra shape is just gonna be good for those POV shots, or when your camera's close to you, it really gets more of the scene in your frame. A lot of people just record 16:9 widescreen shots, but you can take advantage of the larger, taller sensor to get more of the scene in your shot, just depending on the scenes that you record. But you'll probably end up using the widescreen 16:9 resolution most of the time. Another spec that's really important to pay attention to is the frame rate. And the frame rate determines how many frames are recorded each second, which really allows you to play your videos back in slow motion. The Action 4 and the Hero 12 can both record in 4K resolution at 120 frames per second. At 120 frames per second, you can play your videos back in really smooth 5 times slow motion. So you can get some really nice shots using that 120 frames per second. Both cameras also record 60 frames per second, which gives you some really nice cinematic shots when you want to do about 2.5 times slow motion. However, when you do record with the Hero 12, you can record that in 5.3K resolution, whereas the Action 4, you can only record that in 4K. So there's just a slight difference in the resolution there when you record at that 60 frames per second. Also, whichever camera you end up choosing, I've got a great beginner's guide to help you get started if you haven't already gotten started with these cameras. And I have a book for each of these cameras, so check out the link in the video description below. I'll put all that info there, help you guys out wherever you're at. Wherever you're getting started, let's do it. Another comparison I want to show you is the different field of view options available on the Hero 12 or the Action 4. The field of view is basically like a digital lens. It's going to change the look of your shot and how wide the perspective is. So the Action 4 only has 3 digital lenses. You've got ultra wide, wide, and linear. On the Hero 12, you have 5 different digital lenses, from hyper view at the widest all the way down to a linear plus horizon leveling. Not all of those lenses are available at all the settings. For example, if you're recording in 4K at 120 frames per second on both cameras, you can record using super view on the Hero 12, and you can only record using the wide setting on the Action 4. You'll see in this comparison, the super view is a bit wider, but when you just go wide to wide on the 2 lenses, the Action 4 actually has a wider field of view. Both cameras also offer a linear perspective, or standard as they call it in the Action 4. This is just going to remove some of that fisheye warp and give you straighter horizon lines. But for underwater shots, more often than not, you're going to want to go with a wide or a wider perspective than that. Both cameras also have horizon leveling or horizon lock. And horizon leveling is just going to balance out that horizon, usually up to about 45 degrees, depending on the settings you're using. Horizon leveling is a great setting to use to keep that horizon level, especially when you're swimming underwater and you can't really make sure that your camera is staying exactly upright. So that horizon leveling will do it for you. On the Action 4, you can do that in 4K at 60 frames per second. But on the Hero 12, you can actually do that in 5.3K at 60 frames per second. Next, let's take a look at the stabilization on these 2 cameras. The DJI Osmo Action 4 is called Rocksteady or Rocksteady Plus, and on the GoPro it's just called Stabilization, but they've also got an auto boost setting. So both of these cameras have great stabilization, which is going to make your videos look a lot smoother than your actual movements are creating. So even if your camera is moving a lot, the videos are going to appear a lot smoother. I usually just go with the basic stabilization for both the cameras, which is Rocksteady or on the Hero 12. But I just want to show you a comparison here if you step it up to Rocksteady Plus or Auto Boost on the GoPro Hero 12, what it looks like. You may notice on Auto Boost it's kind of hard to show, but Auto Boost zooms in and out a little bit depending on how much stabilization the camera actually needs. Whereas Rocksteady Plus just crops in a little bit more than Rocksteady to get that tighter stabilization. As far as colors, I've shown you lots of examples that are going to show you the different colors in the 2 cameras. Both cameras also have a 10-bit color option, so if you're really into color grading, you can film those in 10-bit and edit those to your heart's desire. Both cameras have front and back screens, so you can see your videos as you film and watch them back. However, the Action 4, both screens aren't always available. For example, if you're recording in 4K at 60 frames per second in widescreen, only one of the screens is available at a time. And then you have to switch it over if you want to see it on the other screen by swiping up or pressing the little side button if you switch the settings. Both screens are supposed to be able to work in the water, and both screens sometimes do. I feel like touching the screen in the water is not always effective just because those wet hands don't always register on the touch screens. I do feel like the Hero 12 was a little bit more responsive though than the Action 4. As far as playback on the screens, there's one thing that I really like about the Hero 12, and that's that you can play your videos back in slow motion. So you can actually preview them in slow motion on the screen of the Hero 12, whereas on the Action 4 you can only play it back at half speed and it's still choppy. It doesn't show the actual frames that you recorded, even though when you go to edit that footage it's going to look great in slow motion. It's kind of nice to be able to see those clips after you film them, but it's not a huge deal because it doesn't really affect the footage. Also, the screen on the Action 4 is a bit darker and it's just a little harder to see when you're out in daylight compared to the Hero 12 screen. When it comes to battery life, the Action 4 is going to actually take a small advantage. The batteries last longer, it's got quick charging capabilities, so it's going to recharge quicker. And you also have that multi-function charging case, which is going to mean that your batteries are always ready. The Hero 12 takes a while to charge the batteries. You can get a dual battery charger for it too, but I just don't find that it's as effective or efficient as that multi-function battery case with the Action 4. Both cameras are waterproof as is. The Hero 12 is waterproof to 10 meters or 33 feet deep, whereas the Action 4 goes down to 18 meters, which is almost 60 feet deep. And both of the cameras also have a protective housing if you want to go deeper. As far as price, the Action 4 costs $299 and the GoPro Hero 12 costs $399. I hate to say it because I thought after making this video I'd have a definite winner between the two cameras, but I do really like both the cameras for different reasons. I like the DJI for its crisp, clear image quality and also those nice blue colors that come straight out of the camera. On the other hand, I like the GoPro for its skin tones and also the higher dynamic range. Obviously it's very subjective, and about half the people that I've asked like the DJI footage and the other half the people like the GoPro footage. Hopefully all these sample clips that I've given you have helped you decide which is going to be the best camera for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.